It's currently Pride Month, and anyone with any sense will know by now that Hoyoverse takes their gay agenda very seriously. They always have, and thankfully, Penacony continuously proves that they always will. Ever since the Chinese censorship was dialed up to extremes, they've had to be very subtle about their hints, slowly increasing the amount that they will try to get past censorship, all the way up to Penacony, where they have quite a few direct and indirect references to same-sex coupling. So, in celebration of Pride Month, I've assembled this compilation of gay things in Penacony to share with all of you. Let's begin with the explicit mentions. Around Penacony, you can find some bottles and wine glasses that talk about pairing up as a parallel to dating. Bottles want to find the most luxurious wine glass to pair with, and vice versa. There's a quest in the Golden Hour where a lovely crystal chalice is surrounded by 3 very different bottles that want to pair up with them, and are competing to do so. After listening to their stories, the player can select which bottle the crystal chalice should go on a date with. I bring this up because down the street you can find 2 bottles sitting together on a park bench, and interacting with them reveals that actually they are paired up, and one of them explicitly mentions that people think it's weird for 2 bottles to be together, and that they feel like people are nosy and they're worried that their partner might not be really happy with them. That bottle feels peer pressured into wanting to break up, while the other bottle ignores them and plans their next date. For those familiar with my recent video called The Sad and Gay Life of Mikhail Legwork, you might know that the watchmaker was in a relationship with the real version of Brother Hanunue, a werewolf rebel named Hanunue. There's an explicit mention of them as a couple found on a piece of cheese that uses Chinese slang to say, Hanunue clucky, do not separate, do not reverse. This means that this ship is not to be paired off with anyone else, and their dynamic, indicated by the formatting of the ship name, should not be reversed, as in, because Hanu's name comes first, he is the top in the bedroom. To support this pairing, we have multiple mentions of them sleeping together, as well as blatantly flirtatious quotes, such as, "You're brave," squiggle included, and "Oh you, always so dashing." Unlike Dreamjoy Memoir, the Adventures of Brother Hanu series is not written by Mikhail, but it is based verbatim on Mikhail's teachings, and it also has embedded memories in it that tells us what happened, including one of my favorite quotes from Hanunue in Mikhail's dream after his death. "Then come here and rest, watchmaker. If you lack the courage to face the nightmares, then seek refuge in sweet dreams for now." We know that Aideen Hanunue was a big motivator for Mikhail to stay in Penacony, and after his death, Mikhail was distraught, yet resolved to be even better than he was. Until the end, he seemed to hold out some hope that Hanunue would return from the dead to save them all. But, seriously, no one should be surprised the watchmaker was gay after this scene. Hoyo knows what they are doing with their use of symbolism. Remember this point. More explicit mentions of same-sex romance can be found in readables. First is a readable called My Romantic Encounters, written by a woman. She lists people like Danny, a male Pepeshi that she admires but has no romantic feelings for, Mr. Leslie, a captivating Holovian with an undeniable sense of detachment she couldn't overcome, Mr. Scrooper, a wise and elegant Intellitron who she says she is willing to invest more effort into understanding in hopes to discover a kindred spirit or even a soulmate. In her final entry, she declares she's fallen in love. She writes, "The instant I caught sight of the girl in the crowd, I knew she was the one. Rational thinking became meaningless when she smiled at me, and logic lost its value when she spoke to me. Her eyes, like precious jewels, ignited my desire and illuminated my life." Unfortunately, the woman didn't show any signs of reciprocating her interest, but she remains hopeful that she will eventually see her and forever fix her gaze upon her. Another readable, called The Evening Tavern Stories Soul Glad Special Issue, contains explicit mentions of homosexuality. The last entry is titled Secret Relationship, Old Oti and Mr. Aideen's Mysterious Private Rendezvous. Though we have no actual confirmation on whether or not their meeting was in fact a date or something else, the article contains a disclaimer from the Masked Fools that reads, "We masked fools totally respect everyone's orientations and desires." There are comments about it from various family members, and an excited Iris family member said, "Oh, there's definitely something spicy going on between Old Oti and Mr. Aideen. They're both alfalfa peeps after all." Now we start to enter the less explicitly stated mentions and more into the realm of heavily suggestive, the kind you would have to be truly ignorant to miss. The first inexplicit mention is Aventurine. Does this even need an explanation?
It's Sunday. The most handsome man in Penacony. along with a singer renowned across the universe, Robin.
He said you were the most dashing person in Penacony. How interesting.
Hey, I just realized, where's that handsome bust of yours?
Looks like you've already convinced that chicken wing boy from the family. How did you do it, little peacock? Did you strip yourself naked, apologize to him on your knees, and promise that the IPC would never harm Penacony?
Oh, Doctor, you're huge. Oh, Ratio, you should come in here and take a look. The view here is breathtaking. Honestly, you could easily squash me with just a pinch.
If that is your wish, I will do so without a moment's hesitation.
For additional context, Aventurine is referred to as Oscar Wilde's Happy Prince, who is known for asking the swallow to take the ruby from his hilt, the sapphires from his eyes, and the gold leaf covering his body to give to the poor. The author, Oscar Wilde, is known for being arrested and imprisoned for homosexual activity. Not so coincidentally, his partner, Dr. Ratio, also has an Oscar Wilde quote in his story. "Whenever people agree with me, I feel I must be wrong." To top it all off, while these next things do have multiple layers of meanings, Aventurine's color palette and peacock imagery have become culturally associated with homosexuality due to their flamboyant appearance in the West. And Penacony itself is heavily based on Western culture, so this feels significant in context. Next is the Black Swan and Acheswan dance. Unbelievably sensual, you would have to be trying your absolute best to ignore the tension between these women. If the fact that they are dancing the famously sexual tango isn't enough for you, the Watchmaker set chest piece explains to us how Penacony citizens desired to dance with the infamous watchmaker, who is the best dressed person at the ball. Making this comparison became an expression of flattery, and the dreamscape is described as having an extra dash of romance and passion added to it. While we have no explicit mention of them being in a relationship, their chemistry here is undeniable. It's also worth mentioning that some of Hoyoverse's previous Mays have been explicitly into women, with their main protagonist Kiana being her main love interest. Another pretty obvious one is Firefly, who is heavily implied to be one of the Trailblazers' love interest characters, with mentions of the rooftop being the perfect date spot in-game and her sheepish personality. Her affection for the Trailblazer is made extremely apparent. This makes the list because the Trailblazer is a woman half the time, and there's no difference in her treatment of the male and female Trailblazer. And Hoyoverse has used both the male and female Trailblazer in advertising them, so that makes Firefly canonically bisexual. Next is Robin. Just like Aventurine and Ratio, Robin is also inspired by a famous homosexual, though to a much greater and more obvious extent. Many of her songs are named after poems written by Emily Dickinson. "Can I Stop One Heart from Breaking" and "Hope is the Thing with Feathers" are both quotes from Emily Dickinson, and she is also referenced by the devs in a trailer for Penacony. Robins and dreams are a frequent topic of her poems, so the reference extends throughout her entire design motive as a character, even down to the detail that Dickinson is well known for mostly wearing white and being a devoted Christian. Emily was known for having a deep love for a woman to whom she wrote many romantic letters, such as the one on screen. Players were also quick to point out that for some reason, Robin's face has 3 dots, which just happen to resemble the lesbian flag. And the only person she has arguably flirted with has been March 7th, who she more or less called too cute to be one of her many, many universe-wide fans. That is quite a hefty compliment. Additionally, in her trailer, Sway to My Beat, there's a very curious scene where she appears on top of a rainbow and then dances with a few women before appearing surrounded by female puppets, which on its own doesn't mean a whole lot, but in context with everything else carries certain implications. Also, before anyone mentions the trailer for 2.2 where she calls Boot Hill a dashing gunman, please know that in the original Chinese version, it is actually Aventurine who is supposed to say this line, so this one is small, but there's a Dream Peak phone call that shows us a really suspicious scene between Bronya and Seela, which does turn out to be just moving boxes, but the Trailblazer was frustrated by the unexpected turn. What were they hoping to hear, exactly? Anyway, Bronya and Seela are one of Hoyo's iconic canon Honkai couples, so this sort of thing is to be expected. And a quick honourable mention to Dan Heng's Dream Peak call, which confirmed that he does in fact share a telepathic connection with Blade, who he was previously at least engaged to as Dan Feng, enough to witness real events that happened to him in the waking world, confirming again that he is in fact in possession of his bracer that has a telepathic connection to Blade's bracer. And an honourable mention to Topaz, who reacted very smitten when seeing Jade in Penacony. This actually reminds me of when Topaz met Himeko during the 1.4 special program.
You know, I've heard all about the achievements of the Astral Express. I also heard that the train's navigator was a lady of unparalleled beauty and talent. It was a pleasure to meet you at last, Miss Himeko.
Another reason for coming on the show today? I hope I lived up to your expectations.
You exceeded them. Next time, let's see if we can meet up in person.
I'm sure we can make that happen. Once your work in Belobog is done, perhaps you'd like to drop by the Express.
It's a deal. I've always wanted to set eyes on the Express.
Jeez. Can we get a room for these guys already?
Get a room? What does that mean?
Albert literally told them to get a room. Like, the tension was pointed out to us. Another honourable mention to Siobhan, the barkeeper. Other than her very stereotypically lesbian appearance, Siobhan has a suggestive scene.
Oh, look! A lady as cool as Serval.
Who's Serval? Will you introduce me to her? Huh?
There's also Lady, who technically has no gender, but regardless, Lady is on a quest for love and tells us that they actually asked Siobhan on a date once, though they were rejected. Okay, hopefully I didn't miss anything, but let me know if I did in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're into learning about Honkai Star Rail's deep lore, and consider supporting me directly on my Ko-fi. Big thanks to those who have already donated. I'm about halfway to my goal of a clearer microphone. My next video should be a follow-up on my Dan Heng and Blade relationship explained video, this time focusing in detail on their shared symbolism as the Azure Dragon and Jupiter and more. Happy Pride Month and see you guys then. Bye!